Cranes are new beginnings for me, so that's why I like taking pictures of cranes. Every time you look through that lens, that's always your shot, and whatever that shot is, it could be a new beginning of anything.
I tie the sneakers and put it outside of the fire escape. People come to a conclusion where you don't know what it is to walk in other people's shoes sometimes, and sometimes you don't know what they go through.
This isn't just a graduate, it's a mother's sacrifice. This isn't just a homeless person, it's a connection to family.
She's homeless, but she's not hopeless or helpless.
How could you leave this room and not be inspired?
In 1841, a Boston bootmaker happened to be in police court one day and witnessed drunkard after drunkard sentenced to a jail term. In a light bulb moment, John Augustus spotted a promising defendant and made the judge an offer he didn't refuse. "Give this one to me, and I'll return him to court in a few weeks a reformed man." Augustus was as good as his word, and the father of probation was off to the races, having set every element of the practice in place. In 2020, almost as many Americans are on probation as live in Los Angeles.
Although the dominant share of our criminal justice system, it's a world few other Americans can imagine.
Instead of winding up in jail or prison, offenders are supervised in their community without advance warning and must regularly check in with the probation agency. By now, the probation function handles intake of juveniles into the justice system generally, while often conducting pre-sentence investigations of all manner of defendants, even those for whom an offer of probation would never be entertained. For decades, the reports tended to read like pulp fiction. Few Americans know of probation's outsized role in sentences handed out to many defendants. Still, many offenses beyond drunkenness can now earn a term of probation if the offender is deemed capable of rehabilitation in the community.
Charged with the responsibility of supervising almost 170,000 offenders, state probation officers work every day to ensure the safety of our communities. Probation officers help offenders who stand at a crossroads in their lives.
It asks them to replace some past risky thoughts that they might have.
How about step 2?
And replace those with a more positive or pro-social way of thinking.
Probation is giving the offenders a second chance to do their time in the community, but we're the ones out there making sure that they're doing it correctly and trying to keep the public safe.
Sometimes, even with the best of intentions, offenders find themselves back in trouble. Sometimes it's necessary for probation officers to work in collaboration with other state and local law enforcement agencies, assisting in warrant arrests and the monitoring of individuals suspected of reoffending.
We're in the business of second and third and fourth chances.
Before probation, I wasn't really utilizing my time properly. I was kind of involved in negative things here and there.
When I was younger, I was a menace. Wilding out with my friends, beating people up for no reason, running away from cops, doing whatever we wanted.
My story starts when I was young. I made a lot of mistakes. I was incarcerated 13 years. Out of those 13 years, I did 11 years in solitary confinement.
I started off in a positive way. It was the choices that I made.
I'm born in the heart of the heart, Bed-Stuy. I call it the jungle. Nowhere else in the city that is more dangerous.
Many in certain areas of the city have lived in fear for their lives.
There was a lot of negative. In the part where I grew up, like Brooklyn, you hear about the danger. You have to watch your back. I had to become a different person. I had to become more alert and more cautious about people, and I had to watch every move I made and watch every move everybody else was making.
We in the community and we don't see doctors, we don't see lawyers. Usually we see gangbangers or we see people that's trying to rob people. We don't really be around a good positive outlet or a good role model.
Participants and probation officials shared such observations with the New York City Council when, at an unusual public hearing, they sought support of a novel training program.
I'm from East New York, Brooklyn, and we have been affected a lot by gun violence and then the whole cycle of it, of parents going to jail and then never coming back.
I can't tell you how many young people on probation who don't think they're going to be alive next week.
Yet support by neighbors is critical to rehabilitation.
Community to me means togetherness. We stand together
People who help people gets helped.
If you don't have a community, you don't have no foundation. That's how I feel.
What happens when probation fails? A new conviction can send you to prison for the rest of your original sentence following a jail term, and that's not even counting the looming additional incarceration. The jail in New York City is the nation's most notorious. Meanwhile, an actual reoffense puts the community at risk. Searches of homes have turned up contraband. An offender going off the rails could be the worst time in a probation officer's life.
He was on my caseload. It was Christmas time. He shot up his girlfriend while she was out on the street. She was trying to make a phone call from a public phone. She died, along with her unborn baby. Could I have done something differently? It was a very, very hard time.
Yet, most New Yorkers on probation succeed, keeping the city safe and a model for remedying mass incarceration.
We had to embed probation and the resources we bring in the 7 New York City neighborhoods that most people on probation call home. Somebody who needs to go to probation after work and they work near their home or in their communities can just walk over to the probation office.
Along with conveniently basing the function in the community and the neighborly support this allows, as well as renovating waiting rooms into welcoming spaces, an expression of what's known as procedural justice, New York City's not-so-secret sauce as the industry leader includes permitting low-risk offenders to check in via kiosk, enabling additional personal supervision of riskier cases, having those who complete probation mentor current offenders to improve success rates while providing employment, incorporating restorative justice into its community work programs, sentencing to shorter terms and releasing early if rehabilitated, and conducting a wide-ranging arts effort in partnership with the local community. New York practice also includes interviews grounded in cognitive behavioral therapy.
These are risk factors. They can either be a strength or a weakness.
One of the most important ingredients of the city's rehabilitative practice is dialing down punishment for violations of probation. Rehabilitation had been baked into probation from the start. The deal was set, individuals redeemed, with lower recidivism in the future purchased at lower cost than incarceration, outweighing any new offenses committed during the terms. For a century after its statewide institutionalization in Massachusetts in 1878, the arrangement held, until it didn't. The crime wave traumatized Americans, echoing the trauma that underlaid so much criminal behavior in the first place. Probation lost its rehabilitative roots, turning punitive as its officers sank under burgeoning caseloads. You could be violated for a sideways glance, and even now, outside New York City, probation may ensnare too many while serving as a staging area for eventual imprisonment. Thousands lay in jail or prison for violating technical rules. Even successfully completing probation leaves one with a criminal record.
We do know why he ran in the first place. He's trapped in the probation system that's so punitive, so unforgiving. It's a spider's web of catch-22s. It's almost impossible to stay out of prison once you're on probation. He was running because he didn't want to lose his liberty.
A mocking media image has inhibited needed reforms. To counter negative stereotypes of Americans on probation while obtaining a marketable skill, New York City probation clients and their neighborhood allies enrolled in a program showing them how to document their own lives in photographs, like the city's housing project residents 5 years earlier.
You know, when you hear the words public housing, you might tend to think about dingy old city buildings that are rife with crime or anything from leaky roofs and leaky pipes. But 3 New Yorkers are aiming to change that perception.
I think this is a great example of the sense of community. So many of our participants talked about the importance of the community and the development.
In the book, you mention a theory. It basically says one's sense of self is formed by the way society regards that person.
There is definitely an awareness of the negative public perception.
We felt that the residents deserved better.
The initial concept was George's idea, and he pitched the idea to the Housing Authority.
It was way back in 2002. I was in London and stumbled onto a participatory photography exhibit in a church basement. The roots of the practice may lay partly in the insights of Frederick Douglass and W.E.B. Du Bois. Anyway, the photographs were simple but powerful, like a Fellini film.
Di tutti I simboli che abbondano nella sua storia, questo è il peggiore, imbevuto di amore.
All that despair, but with a ray of optimism at the end. I was determined to bring this grassroots approach to visual storytelling back home. A world-famous photojournalist saw the show. It was he who encouraged me to set up the nonprofit Seeing for Ourselves. And then I looked for a marginalized New York City population eager to take back their own narrative.
The project itself, which was 4 years in the making, involved hundreds of participants from every borough, embracing the role of storyteller and taking back the power.
People stereotype it as the ghetto and like no good, like there's always gang fights and stuff, but it's really not. A lot of more positive things happen in the projects.
Their lives are really regular lives.
Margaret, how long have you lived in public housing?
I had lived there 53 years. There's always a sad side, but there's a side that is normal, and you're raising kids, scolding them, sending them to school and taking care of them, people going out to work, kids going out to play.
And that's why your pictures include a large basketball court.
Yes, kids need to run and jump somewhere. It might be on asphalt, but they're still running and jumping and having fun and having a childhood.
Chelsea, you had previously done this style of participatory photography with pediatric cancer patients at St. Louis Children's Hospital.
I had a beautiful moment working in that program with a deaf child who photographed people's hands because he signed with sign language. And I think that moment to me really emphasized the beauty of participatory photography and what you can achieve when documenting life that is unmediated by an outside observer.
With Project Lives creating a new image of public housing, thanks to global acclaim, multiple awards, and prominent fans, New York City and state ramped up their support of the projects. The training of participants, along with the platform afforded by a widely noticed book, seemed to validate participatory photography anew in the Instagram era.
Our latest expanded arts experience is Neon Photography, which provides professional photography training in the history of photography, technical skills, and the art of visual storytelling.
I'm really fond of nature photography. I like to surround myself with the woods. Photography has given me a new outlet to do that.
Classes were open to the entire community.
Chelsea, you created such a safe and comfortable space for us to work in, and we all came from different backgrounds and experiences, so it was great to learn and connect with each other on a different level.
I thought that, you know, being young black from the projects, you can't go outside with your camera because, you know, the people in the area, they think differently of it. You know, they easily offended.
I come from such a crazy background, so I like to put that into my pictures, but make it look in a beautiful way. I took a picture of a Lamborghini. Where I come from, there's no Lamborghinis in my neighborhood, so I decided to take a picture of that. I can't afford something like that, but I still love the beauty of the car.
My visual inspiration came from my daughters. My older daughter, she doesn't speak, but they are able to communicate through the language of love.
I found out that morning Chico had got killed in the park. He was shot one time, the back of the head. I knew if I was there that night, you know, it could have been me laying on the floor.
Now in these days, we're so caught up with, paying bills and make something of yourself in this life. And, it's like, it seems like the more you go on, there's more competition or more dilemmas, more obstacles. So I like to focus on the things that when you stand still for a second, actually make all that go away and just make you appreciate the moment that's at hand.
Completing paid photo shoots built self-confidence.
1 minute you're in a classroom in Harlem, and then Chelsea's shoving a camera in your hand and you're photographing the lead piano for the New York Philharmonic at a private venue.
Free photography classes.
Milestones of the project included gallery shows in 2018 and 2019 of the participants' best work.
I didn't think I would see my picture on the wall.
The wall of a local publishing house, with the city's Department of Probation offering free photography classes. He's got the chops. The program's director says studies show community engagement actually prevents crime.
up with names on the wall and real work.
In a real gallery.
In a real gallery?
In September, participants were chosen to showcase their work for a gallery in Manhattan called New Visions, Activism Through the Lens.
This program is giving everybody an outlet that wasn't existent before, and it's allowing people to showcase their light.
I think it's been an amazing experience for all of us. The program has included over 250 people that I've had the privilege of working with.
The system's not perfect. There's a lot of systemic problems with it, but the way probation has changed and some of the reforms that they've made are definitely just a plus.
It's all the same kind of idea of really bringing people together, different entities together to create something. We don't know what the project's going to look like at the end, but at the end there will be a book, much like Project Lives. And it's become much more than that, too. It's been a vehicle for work, advancement, opportunities, a future. It's fantastic.
Representing a district in the South and the West Bronx, I know all too well how important arts is. I often say our young people need a first chance because they've never been given a first chance. We say second chance, they need a first chance.
I just want to say how important I think criminal justice reform and alternative to incarceration and probation and how important this is. You clearly have successes and you have built this comprehensive arts program that I think is absolutely incredible.
What's really special about this program is that it's really founded and based in collaboration. I cannot even begin to explain how proud I am to be a part of this group with all of these photographers. You all are amazing, and most importantly, you all have been the greatest support system. We've all been supporting each other, and I think that collaboration itself is an art, and we truly have made magic together tonight.
You're giving them marketable skills, a viable outlet for all of their energies.
Coming from where I come from, you need some sort of a creative outlet, somewhere to put these energies into.
I think the most important thing is that it helps to build self-esteem.
If you guys have any weddings or any birthday parties, y'all need a professional photographer, just holler at me and I'll give you one of my cards, you know? My secretary right here will set you up an appointment.
This is a ridiculously happy group of people. Yes. This is so not where the world is right now. How could you leave this room, not feel good about this program? And I don't know if you hired all these people and all our actors behind you, but they're doing a great job.
In your case, it's not too difficult. You report weekly to me, you stay out of the company you previously mixed with, and as soon as possible, you start the gainful employment which you guaranteed as part of your application.
Oh, yeah, the job. Now, there might be a bit of a problem now.
Problem?
Yeah, well, you see, Isabel, my old lady, she fixed me up with that job, you see.
The cardboard box factory.
That's right, on the North Circular, yeah. Well, she was very friendly with this owner, you see, Jessup, Reg Jessup, you see, and he was the man who offered me the gainful employment, like.
Yes, I know. I have his letter on the file.
Yeah, well, since then, you see, in the intervening time since that letter, the friendship between him and my missus has sort of, well, it's blossomed, you know.
Blossomed?
Yeah. Or to put it another way, they now live together.
But this is terrible. I had to submit your home circumstances report to endorse your application, in which I stated that those home circumstances were stable.
Oh, yes, they are stable, but the horse has bolted. Or in this case, the old mare.
It's such a basic human need to express yourself. I think once our officers were also very involved in it, they can talk about it in a way that resonates with a person. This is about your ability to express yourself, to get out from under some of the thinking that got you in trouble.
Andrea and I have interacted with each other on a number of occasions, and whenever I see him, I talk to him about how well he's done and how well he can do.
If you could organically start building up these type of relationships with probation officers, not on a disciplinary level, but on a creative level, and just having these things, it really works.
I'm a probation officer. They allowed me to be in the group, so I came and I enjoyed it. I love my class. I've learned so much from so many of them, their viewpoints on different things.
Look, these things happen because we are awash here in criminals and half-baked social workers in a city that doesn't function, in a world that doesn't know right from wrong.
There's only one man who would have made a good probation officer, Kafka, and he wasn't available.
It's crazy how photography could take you into so many different things. As of right now, I'm an ophthalmologist. I take pictures of the back of people's eyeballs. So there is no limit to where this could take you.
And I knew from that point on that this is what I wanted to do. It was like a rush, you know?
Beyond a rebranding of probation and skill development, there were unexpected outcomes.
When I don't have class, I still take pictures. It makes me feel free. I have opportunity to express myself.
I actually took the class last year, and now I'm teaching it. It's working. They have something to look forward to. They have something to express themselves without being in the streets. They could shoot a camera and not a gun.
In my photography work, I could inspire people to go down a more positive path.
Everyone has a different perspective on things, and I think that's what photography is about, a different perspective.
I look at things different. Everybody has a different point of view.
Growing up in certain family situations in certain areas of the city, recognizing others' viewpoints had been a luxury for some. They had to put their own needs first. It was all they could do to survive.
This experience was life-changing for me, and it changed the way I view things.
What I thought was a death sentence for my career, and in so many ways ended up saving my life.
Another element of New York City practice has been devolving responsibility for one's rehabilitation to oneself, participatory probation in a way. This may help account for how strongly many probation clients and their neighborhood allies responded to the participatory photography program, built as it is, on recognizing we all have a different perspective.
It's have me looking at life in a different perspective. As I'm walking down the street, I just don't walk down the street. I see things in a whole new lens, as I would say.
It's definitely helped me socialize more. I'm doing a lot better now. I'm a lot more proud of what I'm doing with my time.
It definitely changed my life in a great way, gave me a new passion. I definitely look forward to spreading that same opportunity and experience with others.
I've been able to see that you don't have to always stay in the hood and do the same thing.
What were you doing that was more important than seeing your PO?
I was working.
I did not know you had a job. What is it you do?
I sell dope.
You can't sell dope. That is one of the things you are on probation for.
You are not going to violate me, are you?
If by violate you mean that I will document your non-compliance with the terms and conditions of your probation, then yes.
My public pretender did not tell me that.
If by violate you mean the same thing that you did to that 15-year-old, then no.
Within a few years of his light bulb moment, Probation's founder had moved on from redeeming drunkards to rehabilitating prostitutes. John Augustus seemed to have a special interest in the youngest and prettiest, which raised eyebrows even at the time. Putting up many in his home until they had seen the error of their ways, that set tongues wagging as well. He records having schlepped 4,000 women between the courtroom and his own house, but remains silent about what had transpired during these journeys.
Would I trust someone like John Augustus to supervise my teenage daughter? To ask the question is to answer it. Most of the world remains in his debt for his innovation. Yet if known, this possible misbehavior is yet another aspect of probation's reputation. Along with news coverage, sitcoms, films, and online videos, it pays to try to counter if the sanction is to be deemed an effective alternative to jail or prison.
I feel great. I ain't gonna lie, I feel like the man.
What's the message in this photo?
You can find beauty and perfection in the smallest things that you never recognize, especially in New York City.
Well, you're now the associate director of the Neon Photography Program.
Sponsored by Seeing for Ourselves.
From the use of light and shadow to depth of field, they learn how to tell a story with a camera lens through their eyes.
But for some, it has been an opportunity at a second chance.
This program really is changing lives and hopefully helping to change the criminal justice system.
My plans with photography is I'm going to use it to help change the world in a way.
We don't change the world, who is?
I think that arts and activism go so hand in hand. And I wonder whether there's a component of the program that maybe I missed, or whether through development you'll be talking about how to link some of the program participants to like social justice campaigns.
This program has also inspired me to dedicate a lot of my time to helping programs like this reach the people before they get into their situations.
Every once in a while, something stops you, right? It's almost like the power of art itself. It's why a theater performance is so great. It's why a visit to a museum and looking at art is important, because it stops you for a second from the chaos of the world, and it makes you think about why we're here and what we're supposed to be doing with this time on this earth, both of us as elected officials, but as people. This hearing is that moment, right? Is one of those moments where you're like, wherever I was coming from, rushing from that luncheon, wherever I'm going now, rushing to those evening events, this moment, these 3 hours, were really, really important. And mostly important because of all of the participants in the program who spoke and shared how it transformed your life and Khalif's life.
It made me into a better man, into the man that I wanted to be. You know, it's like a second chance.
Seeing the world and themselves in a whole new way.
Look out for these photographers' book publication that's upcoming in months ahead.
I hope whether this hearing makes the cut or not in the books, that you share them with all of the members of the City Council.
Those serving probation elsewhere, often very different from the New York City participants, will hopefully also be helped by the photography while it promotes decarceration. Even in jurisdictions like Florida, California, and Arizona that have already embraced reform.
I'm not gonna stop. It's a wonderful thing. I can get up, take my camera with me, and just go.
People in the community that have access to these things is very important. Instead of just putting people in jail, locking them up, and then just throwing them back out into the system.
this whole experience has just been like it's a storyline. We're all authors of our book. You know, we're all the main characters of our book. This is just capturing that image of the book, you know, putting into pictures.
There's a light side and a dark side to everything, you know? So just always keep a bright light for yourself, no matter what.